Well, guys, it looks like there's a bit of misunderstanding in the newly formed Government of National Unity. It looks like the ANC and the DA are not on the same page when it comes to the interpretation of the clauses that were signed upon in the statement of intent. This comes after the DA has expressed their dissatisfaction with the news that Patriotic Alliance will be joining the Government of National Unity. And the DA says we do not have the problem with Patriotic Alliance per se, but we have a problem with the ANC because the ANC didn't consult with us before they invited Patriotic Alliance to join the Government of National Unity. The DA refers to the statement of intent, and in that statement of intent, there's a clause there, the clause 24. And clause 24 says, in keeping with the spirit of an inclusive Government of National Unity, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the Government of National Unity. In keeping with the spirit of an inclusive Government of National Unity, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the Government of National Unity. So DA says we do not have personal problems with Patriotic Alliance, but we just have problems with the ANC because the ANC didn't consult with us before they invited Patriotic Alliance to join the Government of National Unity. The ANC needs to understand that they are in the Government of National Unity now. They don't make decisions alone anymore. If ANC wants to invite other political parties, it is fine, but they must come and consult with us so that we can reach a consensus before a political party is actually accepted to be part of the Government of National Unity. This is what the DA actually has the problem with, the fact that the ANC didn't consult with them before they invited Patriotic Alliance to join the Government of National Unity. Because according to the DA, they were consulted about the Good Party, they were consulted about the PAC, and they were also consulted about UDM, because we know that the UDM wants to be part of the Government of National Unity. So the DA says that we were consulted about these three political parties, but we were not consulted about Patriotic Alliance, and we do not appreciate that.
And if the ANC then brings in parties like the IFP and the Good Party and the PA and the PAC, who have now signed this document as well, do they reach that 60%?
No, let me say this, that the ANC can't bring people in that they feel like bringing in. This is another thing that Fikile doesn't seem to understand, because it says that in keeping with the spirit of an inclusive GNU, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties decide to be part of the GNU. Now, agreed means by sufficient consensus. So it's not the ANC that gets to invite everybody, as Fikile seems to think. He keeps on actually making public statements about this one's joined and that one's joined, but he must read clause 24 of the document that he signed.
Hold on. So are you saying to me that even when the PA decides to join, the ANC has had to consult you and the other parties in the Government of National Unity before accepting any other party to come and join and sign that document?
Absolutely. There are three founding members of this. It is ourselves, it is the ANC, and it is the IFP. And clause 24 says, in keeping with the spirit of an inclusive GNU, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the Government of National Unity. That's what it says in clause 24.
So were you consulted about the PA or the PAC?
We were consulted about the PAC, but not the PA. The PAC was raised in the negotiations. The PAC, Good, and the UDM were raised during the negotiations, but definitely not the PA. But, it's not about the PA per se, it's about the principle of this issue. They haven't consulted us, and the ANC must realize that they don't take all the decisions anymore. They didn't win the election.
So what does that mean now? Will you be taking it up with the African National Congress? That
I have. I've written to Fikile Mbalula. I wish we'd been on together. I would have had a little bit of a...
So this is what the DA is saying, that we don't have a problem with Patriotic Alliance per se, but we just have a problem with the ANC, because the ANC is breaking the clauses that they have signed. Fikile Mbalula knows that in the statement of intent, there's clause 24 that says, in keeping with the spirit of an inclusive government of national unity, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the government of national unity. So the DA does not have a problem with the political parties joining the government of national unity, but they want to be consulted before those political parties actually join the government of national unity. So I'm sure you guys are aware that for the past 2 days, ANC has been mocked left, right, and center. Fikile Mbalula has been mocked left, right, and center. People have actually been mocking Fikile Mbalula, saying that how can you sign a document that you don't even understand? How can you give the DA so much leverage? How can you actually allow the DA to tell you which political parties can come into the government of national unity or not? But the chief whip of the ANC, Mdumiseni Ntuli, recently did an interview. And on that interview, he actually made it clear how the ANC interpreted what the hell is going on.
Yeah, remember the principal leader of the GNU is the African National Congress. Everybody else who has signed and assented to the GNU, irrespective of who came first and came last, did it so at the invitation of the African National Congress. So, for instance, it doesn't mean that with the PAC that would have said a few days ago, who are joining the GNU, and therefore they are becoming a junior member of the GNU on the basis that they signed the statement of intent later than other political parties. Everybody. And our own understanding as the ANC was that the period between the formation of a government and setting up the legislature, appointment of the chairpersons of portfolio committees and all of that exercise, would be a period at which we will continue to engage with the political parties that, in our own view, we believe must accept and support the concept and the idea of the government of national unity.
Okay. So you know what the Democratic Alliance's take is on that matter. Section 24, clause 24, I'm going to read it to you. It says, in keeping with the spirit of inclusive GNU, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the GNU. So of the political parties that you have now listed outside of the IFP and the DA, and of course yourself, the ANC, was there discussion that took place around the other political parties that have now joined the GNU?
You see, the interpretation of the DA on that clause is essentially predicated on the wrong assumption. And I wonder whether it's a wrong assumption or it's a deliberate position adopted by the DA in order to elevate themselves into some kind of a strategic partner within the formation of the GNU. It is true that the DA was the first organization to sign the statement of intent, but that never elevated them to be the founding member of the GNU. The leader and the principal leader of the GNU is the African National Congress. Whether the DA signed this morning and the IFP signed in the afternoon and others are signing a week later, it doesn't mean that we needed to meet with the DA and those who sign on the same day as the ANC for us to determine whether or not we should accept more membership into the GNU. What we've understood right from the inception of these engagements is that at the end of the formation of the government, which is yet to be finalized, at the end of the formation and the setting up of the National Assembly, which is yet to be finalized, it's only then that as we continue to engage other parties, anyone else who decide to join after all of those processes have been concluded, their membership and their proposal to join the GNU will therefore have to be discussed by the parties that have already worked together to set up government and to set up the legislature. So it is very opportunistic for the Democratic Alliance to say that even before we are done with what we have agreed we're going to do, nobody must come in. If you want to come in, you must consult all of us. There's no such a clause, such a provision like that.
But there's no clause that says also that only after the establishment of the government itself will you then have the existing members having to discuss the application of a new member wanting to be part of the GNU.
You're quite correct. It's because on our side as the ANC, we understood and we thought that everybody is acting in good faith. And when we're in a meeting, we have a clear understanding, a very perfect understanding of what we are doing and what we are saying.
But you can't say that you hoped that everyone acted in good faith. Because if this is what the ANC had actually meant, that after the government has been constituted, if a political party wants to come and join the government of national unity, then there will have to be consultations. That had to be there in the statement of intent. You can't say that, yeah, we have agreed that once the government has been constituted, if someone wants to come and join the government of national unity, then we're going to have the consultations. It had to be there in the statement of intent. And you signed this document. You let Fikile Mbalula sign this document. So this whole thing, it's your own incompetence. It's your own incompetence. Because you were supposed to make it clear. You were supposed to make it clear that once the government has been constituted, if a political party wants to come and join the government of national unity, we are going to have consultations with the political parties that are already in the government of national unity. But the way it is right now, it says that in keeping with the spirit of the inclusive GNU, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the government of national unity. This clause has nothing to do with once the government has been constituted. So this thing, man, it is ANC's incompetence. Because before you guys actually signed this statement of intent, you were supposed to read it and say that this clause does not represent what the ANC wants. This clause 24 does not represent what the ANC wants. But you didn't do that. You allowed Fikile Mbalula to sign the statement of intent. And Fikile Mbalula himself, he signed this statement of intent without reading it, apparently. He didn't read it because if one of you actually took some time and read this statement of intent, you would have actually realized that this clause 24 does not represent what the ANC wants. None of you actually read the statement of intent. If anything, if anything, it shows us that none of you actually read the statement of intent. Because what you are saying and what is on paper are two different things.
Everybody is going to act consistent with that understanding. It's only now, with the benefit of hindsight, now that this is being abused by the Democratic Alliance, it's perfectly clear to us that probably we should have set the condition right from the beginning that we are inviting everybody to the formation of government, and until such time that the government has been established, nobody will define themselves as the primary members of the GNU. The GNU is under the leadership of the African National Congress, and it has to remain at size. And part of the reason, Artin, we are deliberately responding to this and challenging this position of the DA is because we can see, right from their own articles that they are writing, Ryan Kutsi, Helen Zille and others, there is this desire on their part to project themselves as the leadership of the GNU, which is not true. The ANC remains the leadership of the GNU. It's the ANC that conceptualized this idea and invited everybody. And unfortunately, others, of course, decided to walk away, your EFF and MK part, on the basis of the reason that they articulated. But I just want to say, what we've understood as the ANC is that the practical reality, Artin, the practical reality with which you must contend with as the ANC and as well as South African, is that this matter is going to be subjected to an ongoing and continuous debate and intellectual discourse in our country. Primarily because we are bringing together here political parties that represent different ideological perspectives. And the contestation about who's going to set the agenda in the GNU is going to be subject of an ongoing engagement. And the ANC is ready and prepared to define the agenda, and to lead everybody who has been invited to form the GNU.
So, guys, I think right now we can actually understand where the misunderstanding lies. The DA says that according to Clause 24, political parties cannot be invited into the GNU without consultation with us. According to Clause 24 that was signed by the ANC and the DA, political parties, if ANC wants to invite other political parties in the GNU, we have to be consulted as the DA. But according to the ANC, this clause is supposed to kick in after the government has been constituted. This clause, as we speak right now, is irrelevant. This clause is supposed to kick in after the government has been constituted. Because ANC says that we understand that this clause is there, but this clause is supposed to kick in after the government has been constituted. When political parties want to join the government of national unity, we will have discussions with the political parties that are already in the government of national unity. So this is where the misunderstanding lies. But I look at the ANC and I'm like, are you telling me that none of the people in the ANC actually read the statement of intent and realized that this clause does not represent what ANC wants? Because the DA, there's no way the DA would have missed something like that. Right now, the DA looks like they are on the right side because they are talking about the statement that has been signed by both the ANC and the DA. They are telling us about the clause that anyone in the country can actually read by themselves. But how the ANC actually interpreted this clause, it is not stated in the statement of intent. So the ANC basically shot themselves on the foot. The ANC shot themselves on the foot. But again, I would actually advise the DA that do not push the ANC. Do not push the ANC. Do not make the ANC feel like you guys are working against them. There are people that are hoping that this government of national unity actually fails. There are people that are hoping, that are betting that this government of national unity fails. Because ANC still has options. ANC can opt out of this government of national unity and they can go and form the coalitions with the political parties that you people do not want. So the DA may be right on this clause, but do not push the ANC. Do not make the ANC feel like you are working against them, because the ANC can pull out of the government of national unity and maybe they can form the coalition with the EFF and Patriotic Alliance. And this is something that the DA will not want. And for these matters to be discussed in a public space, it is not a good look, man, for the government of national unity. This thing was just formed yesterday. The statement of intent was signed yesterday, and now the political parties are on newsrooms discussing this, man, contradicting each other, man. Like, are you telling me that these people, man, there is no way that these people could have just discussed this whole thing behind the scenes? Because right now the enemies are looking and are like, yes, we told you that this government of national unity is going to collapse. Because this is what people are saying. This is what MK and the EFF are saying, that we told you that this government of national unity, it is going to collapse. So I would actually advise the ANC and the DA and say, guys, you need to form a better communication strategy. You cannot go on media whenever you guys have a bit of misunderstanding, because your enemies are going to take advantage of the fact that you guys are not seeing eye to eye. This is what I'm saying. Guys, I don't know, man. Please tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Maba, so I will see you next time. Bye-bye.